Good morning, everyone. Dr. T here. I'm just going to give it a few minutes. We officially start at 08:30 Mountain Time, but I just want to make sure this is streaming on the platforms I want it to be streaming on. Yep. We are live on LinkedIn. I can see that. I don't see any image yet, but give it a moment. All right. So we will get started in just a sec. So what I'm going to be talking about this morning, it's a little evidence in motion, if you will. So we're going to be talking about pain, and we're going to be talking about how mindfulness impacts injury prevention. So if you have any questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat. Like even before we get started in this session, do you have any questions about pain? Do you have any questions about mindfulness and how it, and any questions about your injuries, right? This is a chance for you to ask a PT and get some good information. 1 second here. I'm just going to make sure that I can see some of your questions if they come up. So what I want to know is, can you guys see the screen? Can you see me? Yes, no? Hold on. I'm going to refresh here. All right. Oh, what I want to know is, can you guys see the screen? Yikes. Okay. I can see myself. Good stuff. All right. If you have any comments, let me know. Okay. So it is 08:30 right now, but I want to give it 1 minute just to let people trickle in. I see we've got 10 people here on LinkedIn Live. Great stuff. I'm going to try to look at the comments, but in the efforts of being present and aware, I have one screen in front of me right now. And so looking at the comments at the same time can be challenging, but that doesn't mean, so what I'm going to do is deliver the information to you, share the information with you, and then leave it open for a discussion, right? What did you hear that was helpful for you? What do you have questions about? All that kind of good stuff. So for those of you coming on, I am Dr. Teresa Larson. I'm a physical therapist by trade. I teach mindfulness and movement. I own a wellness platform called Movement RX. So we work with the Department of Defense, the Veteran Administration. I work with individuals. We run individual retreats. Our first one will be here in Durango, Colorado, which is where I just moved my family 1 year ago, almost in September. And it's September 16th through the 19th. And the other thing that we do, so that's a wonderful retreat if you want a full immersion experience to kind of really tap into your mobility issues, as well as learn the practice of mindfulness and the healing powers of it. I can speak from firsthand experience that mindfulness has been very crucial for me in my life, my own healing journey, as well as in my business's journey. To be honest, I had a wonderful mindfulness biofeedback therapist who's a brain researcher, a lot of things that I went to a long time ago, who actually became a business advisor for me and helped me grow into where I am today. And so I get to work with some pretty amazing people, to include Will Schneider and John McCaskill, who both run the podcast, Men Talking Mindfulness. But don't worry, it's not just for men, it's for all people, all genders. Okay, so little fun fact for you. I'd mentioned this on LinkedIn probably a while ago in a post that the biggest joint in the body, who knows what the biggest joint in the body is? Did anyone pay attention? Or maybe this is new news, right? Because the feeds go pretty fast. Who knows what the biggest joint in the body is? I'd like to see. Anybody in the comments want to share? Let me look here. It's not showing me on my phone. What is the biggest joint in the body, folks? I'd like to know your perspective. Let's see. Bueller. Hold on. All right, we got a comment here. Let's see, one comment. Okay, Kevin, I'm glad you're on. So good stuff. All right, no comments yet. Well, I'm going to give it away then, okay? So the biggest joint in the body is the knee joint. So look, we've got the tibia. Well, don't worry, the patella usually is attached, but it's not today because this is a disarticulated joint. But we've got the tibia and the femur, right? This is the biggest joint in the body, is the knee joint. But don't be mistaken, it is not the most stable joint, meaning the most strong joint. It needs control, which is why we do balance training, right? Balance training is important. So you may think like, oh, the hips or the shoulder are the bigger joint. Nope, it's the knee joint. But again, that doesn't mean it's the strongest joint. Okay, so here we go. Let's get into the bread and butter of this, all right? And I know that many people will be watching this after, so if any of this information you find to be helpful for you, share it with someone you care about. So my mission with Movement RX and what we do, both on with the work we do at the Department of Defense, the Veteran Administration, individuals, whatever it is to give people the knowledge and tools to live a lifetime of emotional and physical freedom. Right? I want you to know that pain doesn't have to be a scary thing. Some of you will always be in pain based on your injury you had. Maybe it's a permanent injury, but it doesn't mean it has to take over your life. And actually, we're designed to be pain-free and move for a really long time, up to 110 years old. So if you think that's a bunch of BS, you got to look at the facts, right? There's so many myths that we've been told by medical providers or maybe even Men's Health magazine, right? Or magazines that don't give us really high tier evidence on what pain is, or even what to do about injury prevention. And so I think it's really important to let go of, look at where you've gotten some of your information and then look at the facts, right? Really dig into the research. And that's why I have a couple of PTs I work with who love to do research. On this particular topic today, I've done a lot of research on pain because I do a lot of live education to organizations, and chronic pain, if you look in the HR, if any of you are in the HR department or work in HR, you know that chronic pain in the musculoskeletal health realm is a problem in your organization. And people would love to be out of pain. It is really hard to live a fulfilling, fun life when you're in pain. But a lot of people identify it as their story. Like, oh, I'm just old, so I'm in pain. Or I had an injury, so I guess this is my life now. Or, this is just because I have arthritis. This is now what my life is going to be like. I'm going to be in pain all the time. Not true. Not true at all. And so let me dig into some of the pain science now. All right. So here we go. And I'm going to do some reading here because I want to give you the best amount of information possible. All right. That I've actually done a lot of research with and put it all in like one nice area. So the International Association for the Study of Pain has defined pain as a potential tissue damage or described in terms of such damage. This definition indicates that pain may result from actual injury to tissue, bone, muscle, tendon, or the perceived threat of injury to a tissue. Whether actual tissue damage or perceived threat of injury has occurred, people will experience pain as real. So again, the International Association for the Study of Pain has defined pain as an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience associated with an actual or potential tissue damage, or described in terms of such damage, right? It's an actual or potential perceived threat, right? We can experience pain if our brain perceives there's going to be a threat, right? If our foot was run over by let's say we sprained our ankle on a curb, right? Running. Well, maybe when we come to that curb again, months later, our body already experiences pain because we've already rolled our ankle there, right? Even if that ankle is healed, our brain might still perceive that area or that kind of movement as a threat, right? So here's some other interesting information I want you to know about pain. So pain was once thought to be an indicator of injury to body tissue. It is now known that pain also can be a warning signal designed to alert us to potential damage and to protect us from injury. As a result of this new understanding, we now know that feeling pain does not necessarily mean a physical injury has occurred, yet it can give us a heads up something is not quite right. So one, it can be a leading indicator, right? If we're just experiencing pain for the first time in an area, a leading indicator, okay, something's going on, I need to do something about it, right? It can actually improve our resilience if we lean into it versus, shoot, this is my life now, I'm just going to be in pain, I'm getting old, whatever, right? Whatever the story we tell ourselves or whatever Dr. Google says, which usually isn't quite that accurate. So that's something, and it also can be a lagging indicator, right? If we've had chronic pain more than 3 months, it can be, if you've just let your pain go and not done anything about it, then most likely it's going to become more diffuse. It's going to move from joint to joint. It might be in a different location each day. It might grow and spread in versus in just being in one area. It might grow into other areas of your body. So therefore, you got to still want to do something about it. You still can grow from it, but it's become a lagging indicator for you versus a leading indicator. You do something right away about it. Either way, you can do something about it. That's the beauty of pain, right? It tells you something is off. Let's work on it. And there's room for growth there, right? We all need to grow. We all need to change and shift in our life and heal from different things. If we don't, then, our life doesn't actually look the way we want it to look. We don't have as much fun. We're not as active as we want to be. Maybe we might gain some weight, get higher blood pressure, right? Not have as quality of relationships. There's a lot of things that are impacted by not being able to move well or being in pain. So here's some more information. When a tissue is injured or the potential for injury occurs, such as with an ankle sprain, special nerves called nociceptors send information to the brain to warn of damage. The body responds in order to minimize. Nociceptors are the receptors in the joints and soft tissue that tell us there's a problem. There actually are no pain signals. It's the nociceptors that are our signals. So the body responds in order to minimize damage, i.e., sends pain signals to make sure that the person doesn't step on the affected foot. So pain signals are sensory input to that area of the body. And to begin the healing process, so for example, it might produce swelling to bring healing cells to the area, right? Swelling is actually a good thing. Unless you have an open wound or burn, you don't need ice. Actually, you want heat and you want movement and you want blood flow to that area. Ice restricts that. And some of you might not like hearing that, but unfortunately, my profession, we can be a little old school in traditional clinics, still giving everyone ice for all injuries. And that's really not the answer. And the research isn't tied to ice, actually. But again, it can be great for pain, and it can be great for when you have an open wound. However, we know that the injury warning pain signals can increase or decrease based on specific situations. For example, if you sprain your ankle while trying to get out of a burning building or trying to run from a bear, you may not be aware of your injury until you are safe, because the warning signals are overridden for a more important reason, survival. Has anyone experienced that? Where you didn't experience pain in a moment. Maybe you rolled your ankle because you're running from a snake or a bear, or we're running from a burning building or a traumatic incident, and you did not feel the pain until days, maybe even hours later. Go ahead and share in the comments if you like. All right. So science has shown that this decision to rank the importance of warning signals occurs in the brain, which has led to the conclusion that sensation of pain is triggered by and occurs in the brain. That doesn't mean pain only exists in your brain, right? And you need your brain to heal from pain. It's a brain-body connection, everyone. Brain-body connection. So the signals do come from the brain, but we still need to heal from pain using the brain and body connection. No two humans are alike. Therefore, science shows us that each person's pain experience will be unique, influenced by specific situations such as the one described above, as well as by a range of other factors that make each person's life unique. These factors can include life experiences over time, psychological histories, living and work environments, and even the social structures in which we live. These past experiences can help to decrease pain in life-threatening situations, but can also increase pain in people with persistent or chronic pain. The amount of intensity of pain you feel is not an indication of the amount of seriousness of a possible injury. In fact, there may be no injury present, right? I was working with an individual the other day, a friend of a friend, who had significant pain in his shoulder to him. And so on his supraspinatus insertion point, which is a rotator cuff muscle, he has a bone spur and he had a small tear, right? This happened months ago, but the pain for him is excruciating. Whereas I've worked with other people they didn't even know they had a bone spur. They knew they had a tear, but it really didn't bother them too much. They did the rehab, whatever. So everybody's a little bit different in how they respond to pain and injury. So the amount of intensity of pain you feel is not an indication of the amount of seriousness of a possible injury. Again, I'm reading this again. In fact, there may be no injury present at all. So the experience of pain can change. The pain felt today does not necessarily have to be the pain felt tomorrow. So it is important to understand pain is common but not normal, no matter what age you are. You can use this as a leading indicator to heal a dysfunction in your body, in your brain, your brain perceives as a threat. So again, you can use this leading indicator of pain to heal a dysfunction in your body that your brain perceives as a threat. Until you alleviate or lessen the tension around this threat, pain will continue to occur at varying degrees. All right. So, let's look at the incident of running from a burning building, right? You might have post-traumatic stress from running from a burning building, and now you have chronic pain in your ankle, right? But you didn't feel that until a couple of days later. But there's a lot of mind-body approach to healing this, right? Why did the burning building happen? Why were you in the burning building? What happened in the burning building? Did you lose someone? And so now you have that psychological stressor that you need to work through, but also how is your ankle, right, healing? Have you done the appropriate steps? Have you done some physical therapy for your ankle? Have you done some work around the ankle? Have you moved your ankle? Have you been able to move your ankle? Have you been able to return to normal function? Are the people around you supportive of you in being active? Or do you have a toxic work culture? Do you have a toxic family environment, right? All of those things matter in helping you heal. And so the best way I know in the most layman's terms of helping you heal from pain is that take a look at it as take a resilient look at it, right? We are capable of going through a lot of adversity, and our pain, our dysfunction, we all have it. We all have pain, we all have dysfunction, can be something that helps us grow in our life and become better humans, right? Maybe you'll never be out of pain, but the fact that you're leaning into it and working on it and continue to grow from it matters a lot versus, screw it. This is just my life now. This is just my age. This is just where I'm at. Like, look at how that infiltrates into the rest of your life, how you deal with your grandkids, your kids, your loved ones, even the things you love to do, right? I work with a lot of adaptive athletes. So there's really for me, I have no excuses around movement, right? I know people in wheelchairs who can't use their legs who do squats. It just looks different than everyone else. Or someone with a missing limb, right? Who can do a lot of things because they've chosen to lean into it versus be stuck sitting or becoming sedentary and overweight with all the other systemic issues that come from and stem from being sedentary. So to take a perspective on pain, a resilient outlook that, okay, this can be an ally versus a foe, if we lean into it. Athletes who have permanent injuries may have some level of pain that will always be present. But that same level of pain, learning to accept it versus always fight it, right? And does that level of pain get a little bit less over time? Even incremental changes in your pain getting less can be powerful. It's not going to happen overnight. And the research does show that the more you improve your function, right? Move around, do the things you love to do the dishes, do the laundry, go to the bathroom, get out of bed, go exercise, right? The more you work to improve your quality of life and function and activities of daily living, the less pain you will experience and perceive. Doesn't mean you're going to be pain-free, and no medical provider can guarantee you'll ever be pain-free, even a surgeon. And if they do, they're doing you a disservice, right? Because everyone's experience of pain is different. It is subjective. We could have the same injury, but experience it completely differently. All right. So, all right, now what I want to get into, because we have about 12 minutes left, is I want to go into some of the research around mindfulness. Now, I've done mindfulness more I went to work and learn mindfulness because of more of my own mental struggles. But I learned it was such a physical practice. This is literally the definition of mindfulness: a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment, while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations, used as a therapeutic technique. Right? So being aware in the moment, right? Me right now, I've got my screen open and my notes here. Let's say I do have my phone here just to make sure it's still live, because I've actually had some issues with LinkedIn Live. So I am almost 100% here. However, my mind is on two different screens. My attention's on two different screens. Hopefully for you, if you're scrolling past this or see it, you just click on this video and you just be present with what I'm saying. That alone will actually improve your level of joy and happiness in your life, whether you agree with what I'm saying or not. It's just like when you're using the restroom, use the restroom. Don't use the restroom and your phone. When you're brushing your teeth, brush your teeth versus doing all the other things that you're thinking about, like maybe brushing your teeth in the shower, right? Separate those two things, like little things like that. When you're eating, instead of eating in front of the TV, eat at a table and really enjoy your food. When you're talking to a friend on the phone, instead of like looking and scrolling through Instagram or whatever other social media, right? Talk to your friend and be present to them. So, I've been doing some studies because I have so many benefits from mindfulness, and I get to work with John, who is a mindfulness coach, and we work with a lot of organizations actually and teach mindfulness and movement workshops. We go physically to locations. We also do virtual ones. It's awesome tying the two practices, but they go together so much. Mindfulness really does combine mind and body. And I think it's actually the baseline layer of what someone needs to know to help prevent injury and become more aware of what's going on in their own body. So there's a study, I was reading about an injury prevention study, the effects of mindfulness-based program on the incidence of injuries in young male soccer players. I'm sure they did it on women too, but this is one that came up that I wanted to read you. And I'm going to put the link to this in the comments once I'm done with this video chat. So the summary of this study was that a mindfulness training program was reduced the number of injuries, days out of play, and improved attention, perceived stress, and anxiety levels among male soccer players. There was 70 athletes studied, around 18 years of age, from 17 different clubs and males. So while many injury prevention programs affect physical risk factors for injury, for example, neuromuscular control, few programs address the psychological risk factors, personality traits, history of stressors, and an athlete's coping strategy may influence someone's stress response and subsequent risk of injury. So the mindfulness interventions improve executive function, right, awareness, and decrease stress and anxiety. But their ability to prevent injury is unclear. So that was why they did the study. It was because the ability to prevent injury was kind of unclear. And this is where it's fascinating. So therefore, the authors conducted a randomized trial to determine if a 7-session mindfulness acceptance commitment approach could decrease the number of acute sports injuries in soccer players. So compared to 7-session educational program on the psychology of injury. So we had one control group, psychology of injury, and then the mindfulness-based group, right? that was being studied. So the authors defined an injury as any physical complaint sustained during a competition or practice that was directly related to soccer, which resulted in 4 or more days of absence from practice throughout one season. They focused solely on acute injuries, so meaning injuries that just happened, right? If you ever watch soccer games, there's always lots of injuries that happen and very dramatic experiences around those injuries. So these athletes completed several patient-reported outcome measures before the intervention, which is basically just, right, testing them before where they're at, and then they tested them after. And outcome measures are very research-based kind of questionnaires, if you will. So they filled out the comprehensive inventory of mindfulness experience, the Toronto Mindfulness Scale, Sports Anxiety Scale, etc., a couple more. So coaches and athletes also completed a survey regarding how satisfied they were with the program. Overall, the mindfulness program reduced the number of injuries from around 3 versus around 7 per 1,000 athlete exposures. days lost to injury, about 10 days versus 14 days. And this is just with 7 days of working on mindfulness. Seven mindfulness interventions. So it could have been 7 days over the course of, I don't actually know how many weeks it was. I'll have to look that up. But so it improved number of injuries, number of days lost to injury, anxiety, and stress compared to the control group, who was just doing the psychology of injury prevention type of education. Additionally, the mindfulness group reported greater attention and state mindfulness compared to the control group. Lastly, both coaches and athletes reported high satisfaction rates with the mindfulness program. So this is one of many hundreds of studies, right, that have been done on mindfulness. But there's been, more and more mindfulness is an intervention that is used to prevent injury, especially with athletes, right? But let's apply this to the everyday athlete, all of us, right, who are just looking to be healthy. You're probably paying attention to this to learn about yourself or someone you care about, right? But how can you apply mindfulness in your life? The bringing awareness to what is going on, neck up and neck down, is huge, right? The ability to slow down, be aware, and say, oh, you know what, I'm feeling really anxious right now, gives you a chance to take a pause, step aside from whatever you're doing, and do something to calm that down. Maybe it's go for a walk, maybe you do some deep breathing, whatever it is. But just the awareness of knowing, oh, you know what, I'm a little anxious and I'm a little tense today. I'm going to go take a walk, or do a little pattern or take a little break because I've been working so much, or I've been ruminating about this so much, right? When you think about in the body, though, so I love to CrossFit, and I go to a CrossFit class here locally. And I also love to run on the mountains and mountain bike and paddleboard and all that stuff. And so when I go, though, right, when I go and do these movements, I'm paying attention the best I can, right, to what my body is doing when I'm running, like how my feet are hitting the ground, what my hips feel like, right, when I'm squatting. I know some days I go into the gym and I feel pretty stiff. And being aware of that helps me do a little bit more mobility before I go into doing some squatting, because I know if I just squat when I'm stiff, right, that could put some extra stress on my hips and lower back and or my knees and ankles. So I know that gives me a more of an awareness of like, okay, what is going on in my body right now as I'm talking to you? What is my posture like, right? I can hear my kids in the background bumping around. So I'm actually feeling a little more distracted when I first started this thing. But again, it's little things like during the day, I'll find myself when I get tired, I'll start working in a poor position. And then I wonder at the end of the day, sometimes like, oh my gosh, my neck or my upper back feels really tight. Well, I was working in a hunched position a lot of my day. So just being aware of that, makes me be aware the next day, okay, I'm going to be more mindful of how I sit. I actually know that if I sit, I have less focus. So I have this wonderful ab mat that I use that I kneel on. And that's really awesome at my desk because one, my body is very active when I'm on the ab mat. I can stretch my hips. And I don't do it all day long, but I'm aware that I'm more focused and alert when I do that versus when I'm sitting. Okay. So there's a lot. And when it comes to being an athlete, right, it takes time and practice to be in your own body and be aware of what's going on in your own body. Like, oh man, I feel tight today, or I don't feel as good, or I didn't sleep as well, or my posture. Yeah, I don't feel like my posture when I'm sitting at my computer, I'm always hunched, or I do have a really forward head position. I need to work on that. That is mindfulness, being aware of it and then doing something about it is the action, right? If you take action to improve those things, it will improve your motivation over time. The research shows that. Take action, it improves motivation. All right, so now what I'm going to do is head over to the chat and see if there's any questions. I don't have anything else for you guys, I think, and ladies. To sum it up, right, I taught you about pain. I taught you about, the research behind pain, that it is from an injury, yes, or a actual threat happening, injury, or a perceived threat, an injury that hasn't even happened yet, right? And injury happens both in the mind and body. It is a full mind-body connection, and so to heal from it is a full mind-body approach. And the baseline layer of helping you heal from pain or an injury or a perceived threat is actually mindfulness. The more I do physical therapy and work in the space of education, the more I know mindfulness is one of the key components, layers that everybody should start at learning to help them in their life, whether you're a professional athlete, a desk jockey, or anything in between. It's a great place to start, is being aware. So, I'm not going to go to the gym and crush it if I'm not feeling so good, or if I'm feeling achy, or I need to pay attention to an area of my body. Or I might go and not really use that area of my body and use other areas, right? If you injured your elbow, doesn't mean you can't use your legs. This is another thing I've learned from the adaptive communities. There's all different kinds of ways to get movement, and just because one area doesn't work so well yet, doesn't mean you can't use the rest of your body. So don't use that as an excuse either. So again, we learned about pain, injury prevention, and how mindfulness can help with all of those things. Let me look at the comments here. I'm going to slide over to LinkedIn. Let's see. So we've got Jason commenting on having lower back stuff. Okay. Yeah. So let's see if we got any other ones. I don't think I can see the comments here. Let me see if I can see them on my phone. Refresh. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So we've got Jason commenting on having low back issues, I'm guessing. And then John commenting on hips. Yeah. So actually, real quick before we jump off here, the low back and hips affect each other, right? So if you look at it, look at Dr. Skelly here, right? His hips are very close to his low back. And your hip joint is a mobility joint, right? It needs range of motion. If it doesn't have good range of motion, then it's going to impact and put stress on the lower back. So the majority of cases, not all, but the majority of low back issues stem from really tight hips, weak glutes, right? Which obviously causes problems above, which is abs, low back, and then below the knees. So we can dive into that again. If you're listening to this and getting a lot from it, comment below. And if you have any questions about this, or have, you want me to cover certain topics that you have questions about and want me to bring in the actual evidence and facts, let me know in the comments below. And I'll leave you with this. And thank you for those that did comment. I appreciate it. And that always helps with interaction with these things. Is if you want, so we do, John, Will, and I have a complete immersion experience happening here in Colorado, Southwest Colorado, in Durango, September 16th to the 19th. And I'll put the link below. But it is a full immersion, right? I physically am going to be doing evaluations on everybody that attends and giving you a plan of care to help you with whatever pain or movement restrictions you have. And that plan of care will span the entire year. A plan that you can do to help yourself heal incrementally over the course of time, right? I don't fall into the whole 6 to 8 week approach or anything like that. Our body maintenance that we need to do and things that we need to heal from take time. And so to give you little things that you can do each day, knowing what your injury is, knowing what your mobility looks like, I will give you that year-long plan of care when you attend our mindfulness adventure retreat. The other thing you're going to get is there's horseback riding, there's archery, there's shooting if you want to do that, there's fishing. We're going to be doing meditation with John and Will, yoga. I'm going to be doing some movement sessions, and we're going to be doing some wonderful, beautiful hikes here in the Southwest Colorado mountains. So oftentimes immersion experiences can be like the kick in the butt you need to get yourself on the healthy trajectory that you want to be. Right? Versus doing 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Good. I'm big on like building habits incrementally and doing small things, but some of us do need a kick in the butt immersion wise. So this is your chance. I'll put the link in the comments, and I will check out any other comments I can today. I got to roll. I've got some other things going on, as I'm sure you all do. But But I really love this stuff. I hope you got something from it. If you did, put it in the comments, and whatever else you want to learn, let me know. I'm an open book, right? I remove the white coat. I don't do anything traditional. I look at what the research says, the facts. I also look at the experience and the whole person. So feel free to hit me up. I look forward to working with you, and maybe I'll see some of you in Southwest Colorado in September. Will it be you? All right. Have a good one, everyone.